and future Nobel laureates, was shocked to learn in 1967 that the CCF was a CIA front and that he had unknowingly received some funds from America's Foreign Intelligence Service. He was bitterly disappointed in Melvin Lasky, one of the intellectual leaders of the CCF and the editor of Encounter, who did not deny direct knowledge of the agency's involvement. Soon enough, exclaimed Shoyinka, we would discover that we had been dining, and with relish, with the original of that serpentine incarnation at Ibere. The devil himself, romping in our post-colonial garden of Eden and gorging on the fruits of the tree of knowledge. It has been suggested that some of the African authors who were funded indirectly by the CIA were aware of the process, but there was no apparent reason for African writers to mistrust the organizations offering assistance or suspect the dystopic reality that the US government, which loudly articulated its support for the freedom of Africa, would use its foreign intelligence service in this covert way. The US was not alone on the Cold War axis in its patronage of artists and writers in Africa. At the other end of the axis, Shoyinka has recalled, were rival jostlers. In Nigeria, utilities were a routine form of patronage. State-of-the-art printing presses from the Soviet Union and or via China in disguised crates formed steady contributions to the cause of intellection, creativity, and general literary empowerment. Within the Soviet Union itself, publications produced in Africa were pirated by the Soviet states, publishing machine to the tune of 1 million print runs on a single title. Those mills had Shoyinka were fertile engines rolling out third world literature for internal consumptions and sometimes even exports. A frustrating aspect of Soviet patronage was the neglect of contracts and royalties. This neglect was challenged by some authors, which led to a handful receiving notices to report to the Soviet embassy and collect our modest windfall. Shoyinka was one of the handful. I banked my check before someone in the Kremlin or wherever chose to change his mind. Later, or perhaps it was already operational policy, the satellite states would follow suit. Hardly ever was permission sought, no contracts negotiated. On occasion, an East European nation would assign royalties, which had to be spent within its borders. It was actually not a bad feelings, comment Shoyinka dryly, to know you are a millionaire somewhere in Eastern European currency. Socialist Cuba, too, supported artists and writers and paid for them to attend Cuban festivals. Here, Shoyinka confronted very real race issues. There was a problem as well because the US prohibited its citizens from visiting Cuba. And some African governments, including Nigeria, followed suit. Cuba handled this where necessary by planting an entry stamp on a piece of paper instead on a passport. Well, through its secret representatives at the AAPC in Accra, the CIA was watching development carefully. It took note that Paul Robertson sent warm greetings to the conference. It also produced a report on Eslander Robertson's attendance, with details of an interview she gave shortly afterwards, in which she drew links between the freedom struggle in Africa and the civil rights movement in the US. The question of Africa, she said, is one of colonialism, and the American Negro, too, is held in a colonial position. Its solution in Africa is bound to have repercussions in America. She noted that Daniel Hamlin Chapman, Ghana's first ambassador to the United Nations, had said in his maiden speech that his country's independence would be of service to African Americans. Then she added, many of our people in New York crowd into public benches at the UNO just to see the African delegates sitting there on equal terms with the white nations. Even American whites are being affected. They dare not behave towards Negroes as they used to because they cannot be sure if it is an ambassador or a hall porter they are pushing around. Mrs. Robertson had no doubt that the CIA attended the AAPC in some form. There had been rumors at the conference of a split between Nkrumah and Egypt's President Nasser, which Mrs. Robertson believed were overblown, if not altogether made up. There was other gossip too, including the claim that Cairo and Moscow wanted to take over the conference. This, she thought, was untrue and deliberately concocted. So I wanted to finish that chapter, chapter 5, and then maybe start from chapter 6 next time that we are reading. But that's going to be like, how many pages? So that's going to be like about, say, 67 to 70, 81. So that's like about 14 pages. Chapter 6, then chapter 7, right? 14 pages. So we'll have that the next time, okay? So that we won't have unfinished reading next time. So I just wanted to make sure that I finished that part because we didn't, and it's been like 2 days now. So I'll leave that out. I'll keep the line opened so that we can have the charts. For those of you who want to probably call in, right? The line will be opened, and that will be when I come back. This is the governor of Niger State commissioning their own CNG buses. And I think CNG buses are the buses that were converted from petrol or diesel to gas. Let me show you. So I'll leave that out, okay? Sorry. The line is opened again, and if I pick your call and I'm still talking, you just have to stay on, okay? If you really want to join the chat. So here is the first caller this afternoon. Good afternoon. How are you?
Castle. Hi, Uncle Mario.
Aduke. Good afternoon. How are you this noon?
I'm very well. Good afternoon, everybody in the chat.
Good afternoon to you, darling. Please.
Uncle Michael.
Yes, ma'am.
That book that you're reading.
Yes.
It's making so much sense. So you know that I've been making the argument about education.
Yes.
But I've also realized in order to push education, you need money.
That's right.
So it makes so much sense how the British were able to invade Africa. It was the government that invaded Africa, and the government had the money.
That's right.
So the correlation with what you were saying, I said to myself, so the real issue here is that those of us who want to change Nigeria, we need money.
A lot of it.
We need money. And it's the propaganda that's going to change Nigeria. And the only way you can have propaganda is with money.
A lot of it.
So when you said the parts where you said about the printing press,
yes,
I said to myself, yes, because do you know how expensive it is to get those machines?
I know.
It's not cheap, Uncle.
Not cheap.
So there's a difference between government money and independent money.
Yes. You know what I told somebody, Aduke? And I think I've actually said that on this program many times without sounding too overconfident, right, Aduke? If anybody says, you this Mayegun, shouting this your Yoruba nation, Yoruba break up Nigeria thing, right? Now, what is it going to take you to make that happen? And how long is it going to take you? If I see anyone from anywhere that says, I will write a check of $100 million for a starter, and I will be writing this $100 million for your movement every year if I see progress, okay? And I want you to deliver the breakup of Nigeria in another 5-10 years. Aduke? Yeah. I will break up Nigeria within 2 years.
Yeah.
You see all these politicians who don't like talking about it, all their TV stations who don't like talking about it, all their media, they will turn around and talk about it. Their churches, the mosques, everywhere, it will be a thing. We will stage endless 1 million, 10 million man march conveniently. Police will march, soldiers will march for Yoruba nation. That's what the money is. You need a lot of it. Without shooting a gun, no. Meanwhile, around that time, with that so much money, you will freely assemble ready-made volunteer army. You will harm them. If it's going to lead to anything else as well. That's what money can do.
Yeah.
You get what I mean? So a lot of it. And it's not a magic. It attracts a lot of people and it changes a lot of people's mind. Suddenly, they will believe that there is Yoruba nation that is possible. The traditional rulers, everybody, you will see kings in their thousands carrying placard and banner demanding for Yoruba nation with such money. Well,
it's the money.
It's a lot of money.
I also wanted to clarify looking at propaganda from how you can use it yourself.
Yes.
Because the government uses propaganda very well. So if you say you want to help Nigeria, don't open a charity. Maybe open a nightclub. You want to help people in your community. Don't open a school. Open a bar. Because the propaganda is indirect. Propaganda is you being able to indirectly get to your people.
Yeah, you weaponize their ignorance. Or you recognize their enlightenment. Either way, you can use that to either positive or negative. That's what propaganda is.
Exactly. And then I think about the education system in Nigeria, and I was saying to myself, majority of the private schools in Nigeria are not owned by Nigerians. So going back to what you were reading, there's clearly some, co-founders who are not Nigerian. That's why the startup industry in Nigeria is doing so well, because the money is not coming from Nigerians. It's not even organized by Nigerians.
And see how they targeted creative writers too.
Clever, because our creative writers are hungry.
They give them visas like that. Oh, come to America to attend this conference. They didn't know they are helping the CIA to get in even more. They have no clue.
Yes.
And some of them who actually had the clue, they didn't mind. It's harmless anyway. So yeah, I'll take it.
Yeah, and I feel like we need to be more aware now. When you start seeing adverts about scholarships, you start all of a sudden you see the Chinaman has a picture. It's because they're trying to get into the country.
Yes. And they could only do that by pretending to actually sharing something with you.
Yeah.
By bringing you over and then sending theirs there. But by the time, it's like going to be, it's going to be like what somebody said, a Ghanaian, right? It said, our parents said, when the missionaries came, right? They brought the Bible. okay? And once they landed, they said, close your eyes, let us pray, right? So everybody closed their eyes. By the time everybody opened their eyes, the Africans have the Bible, but they lost the land. And that's why we're more religious today. And we have the best of the best continents, but they make it more like unproductive or in any way unconducive for us to succeed. Because we kept the Bible and they took the land.
Yeah. Oh, anyway, Uncle Michael, I really enjoyed that session. I really enjoyed it. I'm going to buy the book because of you.
You should. And you know, the beautiful thing is that if you buy the book and you are like becoming lazy reading it, right? By the time you see me reading it, you can get kind of motivated to say, you know what, my ego stopped, now I'm continuing.
Oh, Uncle Michael, before I go,
yes, ma'am.
Can you do an Amazon link with all the books that you suggest we should read? And then you get paid from it, just to let you know.
You know, most of them are like donated. Members from the platform order them and they just send them to the studio.
Yeah, but you can do something called Amazon link. Yeah, on Amazon.
Yeah, I can look out for them on Amazon
every time. Myself. Yeah, so that every time we buy the book, you get a cut of the money.
Do I? Really?
Yeah, it's called Amazon affiliate.
Okay, I'll look into that then. That sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you, Uncle.
Yes, ma'am. Have a wonderful afternoon, okay? Cheers.
Thank you, Uncle. Bye-bye.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah. I say I do, okay? And you can also be part of this too, if you are watching, okay? Where you too can add your own contributions, right? Your own views. Now I kind of feel tempted to continue reading now. That you know. Anyway, yeah. I think I have another caller. Hello there.
Hello, Professor Mayego.
Baba.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
How's the day?
Well, very well. How are you?
I'm fine, Mayego. Thank you for today. Another assignment this afternoon, my brother. This is Bright, your friend calling from Italy.
Right. Baba.
My brother.
They see where they go on for Abia State right now.
There is no day that there is. You know, Nigeria is like you used to say, it's like a crime scene. So a crime scene is always, you always have, you know, when yes, you always find things that will link to the other. You know, it's a crazy place. So, you know, every day as I grow older, I'm kind of confused. Like, you know, I kind of ask myself, is this really how the world? The system is really how the world really operates? Because growing back in Nigeria those days, I never knew the dimension to this extent of life until I started, you know, discovering myself, reading, listening, traveling also. I now understand that, you see, it's a war. It's like when they say when you find yourself in a jungle where only the strong will survive. If you are weak, you'll be the prey.
Gone.
You see, there is, I continue to say it, like, until you know your roots, like you identify yourself, you know yourself as a person, that is when you begin to realize the start of your problem. You start knowing how to solve your problem. Right. If you don't really know yourself as a person, you cannot solve what comes on you. Because especially when it comes to religion, I always don't want to take religion out of it at all, because it is the basic, it's the start point of the movement.
It's so strong, I know.
Yeah, it is the start from where we Africans should realize that we have been bamboozled. Because you cannot tell me now, for example, if you bring the Bible and if, for example, you put it as a base that is centered around a particular set of people, as the Israelites, the chosen ones, and the Bible specified on them, and the Messiah comes from them. And today, as a black person, for example, I cannot just find myself in Israel today and I'll be living comfortably because that is where the Messiah comes from. I don't know whether you are getting the scope.
I'm following you, Baba.
So if the Messiah, for example, comes from a particular place, and I cannot really identify myself, establish myself there without fear of rejection as a person. I think that should ring a bell that no, there is something that is not clear here. Because if a place guides me religiously, then that place is not so. It's like it's supposed to be my second home or my heaven on earth. Yes, whenever I run there, I'll be like I'm in the economic class of heaven, and just a step forward, I'll go to first class. But it doesn't work like that. You see that that place does not recognize me as the way I recognize it mentally. So it tells you that you are your own. You are just on your own. The system has placed you there. And we as Africans, we don't realize it's like we are just like a car. When you put the key, it's supposed to start when there is 4 inside. So you just put it in start. It does not ask whether it's the wrong person who is going to drive it or not. So far, you get the key to the car, you just put it, it moves.
It's the right buttons.
So it is so difficult for me to understand. Like the things happening in Nigeria today, oh my God. See, when they say propaganda, APC is the architect of propaganda. Now that they understand that people now are kind of weary, like people are not, they now put it that everybody should go back to the national anthem. And everybody's topics now is not on the national anthem. So by the time we now start finishing thinking of that one, realizing, let's go back to the cup of bag of rice. Workers have not been paid. Another propaganda will come again. We'll start discussing that one again. Before you know, we'll be we'll be close to election.
Local government autonomy.
God.
It don't carry you never hear. It don't carry state governors go courts. The Supreme Court should declare that local government autonomy. Forgetting the fact that under Bukwari signed something. I don't know if some of you remember. At the point, Bukwari signed something, they call it executive order that gives autonomy to local government in Nigeria. All on paper, lies, propaganda. He is about to do his own now.
And this is the same country that some group of people just issued a warning to some local government in the northeast that they should leave their place for them. If they come and make
told the people of Tubunrogo, they've told them to leave. And then guess what? Just a few days ago, they killed 15 fishermen in that community. 15. ISWAP killed them. And they have told the rest of them who survived, leave or you will die. People are already living. They are living.
And we have a president. We have a local government chairman there. Then you have a governor there. You have ministers. You have, see, I just sometimes the whole thing's me. That is why I have always told people that are closer to me. There is no matter of conviction. You will convince me to tell anybody to go and vote next time. You are joking, because how do you expect people to vote for people who does not recognize them? These people does not care for you. When they get there, they just, Nigerian politicians, it's like they are living in a different world. It's like they don't live in Nigeria, but they are inside Nigeria. It's like they don't, what they are saying is different from we as Nigeria. What we see is different from what they see.
Alternative world. Mm-hmm.
But you cannot imagine somebody who thinks straight, a whole senator, will sit down in the parliament and be talking of how to change national anthem with what is going on now. Not be juju be that.
Not juju. It passed juju, sir. Passed juju, but people wait to allow them. Because they still continue to allow them.
It don't be like, say, it's like you see, like you once said, there was a time pastors were saying, if you eat for dream, and the village people, they pursue you, it's not a good thing to eat in dream. I will tell you now that majority of Nigerians, they are eating their best meal in their dream now. Because food not there.
Why don't you go shop for a dream this evening? So I don't know, maybe not fried rice or something. I'm thinking of going to Tantalize.
People are cooling off in the best restaurants in their dream as we speak. Now I go say, if they ask me money, I go wake up because there is no way, there is no food.
At least businesses are already saying that one of the problems businesses are facing in Nigeria is patronage. They have the food, they have everything, but people don't get money to buy anything.